Welcome to The Fight with Teddy Atlas, presented by Dynamic Striking. I'm Ken Rideout, joined as always by my friend and legendary boxing trainer, the great Teddy Atlas. Teddy, how you doing?
Good, Ken. How you feeling after you did your half marathon? You won. You put another notch on the belt. You won a half marathon, I understand, in Florida over the weekend. I'm going to assume that you used that as sort of a training tool or device for the Tokyo Marathon. Would I be correct in assuming that?
You are always correct, Teddy. No one knows training better than you do. That's exactly what I did. Wasn't my fastest time, but as you just pointed out, it was in the middle of a huge training block for Tokyo. So I was, I went out there and emptied the tank. I ran as absolutely hard as I could. I ran like 1:11:58 or 59, just under 1:12. My best time was 1:10:30-ish. So I was not far off my best time, but coming off of huge training mileage, I was super happy. And it's also very difficult, and I don't mean this to sound arrogant at all. It's just very difficult when you're way out ahead by yourself to push yourself to such an uncomfortable level to get a personal best. I won by 15 minutes. So it's very, unless someone's pressing you the whole time, just like a fighter, sometimes when they're overmatched, they don't look as good as they do when they're in tough and they got to dig deep. It gives them an opportunity to show all their skills. So it's like that. But I do want to say that as far as I'm concerned, a win for me is a win for all of us, not just us at the fight, but all of our fans. I think that, at least I tell myself this when I'm doing this stuff, is that I represent more than just myself, my kids, my family, my team here at the fight, and the fans. I love it. I don't have to tell you, Teddy, but sometimes you realize when you're doing this stuff, it's bigger than you, whether it's true or not. That's the story I tell myself, and that's the kind of the standard that I try to live up to, is that I'm representing more than just me.
Well, that's when you get a higher standard, because to me, it should always be an attachment beyond yourself. I mean, I remember years ago, there was a carpenter that came into our home, and he didn't get it done the way my wife liked it. She said something, and we could not get rid of the guy. I thought he was going to move in. He didn't want any more money, but he would not leave. I was like, Elaine, tell me he's great. Get him the freak out of here. I mean, like, he would not. He stayed an extra week just to get it exactly right without any money. Matter of fact, he wanted to give the money back. And I was like, listen, this is getting a little crazy. And he said, I want you to be happy. He said, I represent my father. My father was a carpenter. I'm trying to remember. I think he was from Ireland. Ireland or somewhere in Europe. And he said, I learned under my father, and I want you to be satisfied. And, at the end of the day, we got rid of him, thank God. But it was, listen, he did marvelous work. There was just a matter of Elaine wanting a certain thing cut a certain way. But the whole thing that the whole purpose of the story is that there was an attachment to more than him. It wasn't just about the money. It wasn't just about getting the job done and getting the hell out of there. It was about not disappointing the standard that his father had set for him. That not living below that. That he was connected, to just the pride. That he was connected to what his father had taught him, to the trade. And that he had an obligation to live up to that, to make sure that the customer was satisfied. And I just believe that in everything in life, that if you're connected to something, I think that when you look at this great MMA fighter that's retired, UFC fighter that retired, Khabib, maybe the greatest of all time, definitely one of the greatest of all time. He was connected, every time he fought, he was connected to what his father taught him, to what his father expected from him. Matter of fact, he retired after his father died. His mother told him that he had to, and he did. But the point is, he was connected, I think, to that region of the world, to his, maybe to his city, to his little town, to that area, to a code that they live by, to a code that they adhere to a code that they aspire to, a code of conduct, a code of the warrior, of behavior, that he had to live up to that he had, and I've seen that through the annals of time with other fighters, where they'll be fighting for more than themselves. I think Pacquiao was one of those guys where when he was fighting, he couldn't lose, he couldn't disappoint, in his performance. He might lose, but his effort couldn't be less than it had to be a great, 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 great effort, because he was attached to the people of the Philippines, where there was so many people that their hope was attached to him, to what he did, and I think that was always with him, with people like him, with maybe in some ways, with a Canelo, maybe to a certain extent, with the connection to the history of the great Mexican fighters in his country where he comes from. But again, the point to what you brought out is that when we can do things that are attached to something greater than only ourselves, beyond ourselves, then we start to move into an area where we can be better than we normally would be. That we have something that's pushing us beyond our own, the things that push us for money or for, success, for pride, but even beyond that. Yeah. And I think that I think you see it all around you if you look deep enough, where there's special people in the history of this world that have done special things, have felt those connections beyond themselves. And anyway, I'm glad that you got. Let me ask you something: is it the smartest thing to do? And I'm not being a wise guy here, but would everybody be using a half marathon in the middle of training for a full marathon in Tokyo? Would everyone be using that if they could, or is that a sort of a thing that's not recommended? Yeah, or not usually done?
No, that's a good question. My typical training would look like either there's a big workout on Wednesday that might be on a Wednesday that might look like something like 8 by 1 mile repeat. So 1 mile, pretty much all out, like a low 5 minutes, so like 5:15 pace. Then I recover for a minute of jogging, walking, and then I'll hit that 8 times. And then on Saturday, typically it'll be a 20-mile workout where it looks like something like 5 mile warm up, 5 mile race pace, 5 mile at 6 minute pace, 5 mile race pace. So you're getting 2 big workout days, or it might be a smaller workout on Tuesday and Thursday, and then a hard workout on Saturday. So to work in a race, a 13-mile race makes a lot of sense in the course of a marathon buildup, because it's rare that you're going to run 13 miles as absolutely hard as you can. And then at the marathon, you're running 13 miles the first half, just a couple steps slower than that. So it's not completely foreign and uncomfortable to be like that far out over your skis in terms of exertion. But to finish up on the point you were making is, look, we all have our own identities in the world, like as fathers, husbands, etc. But it's no secret that being affiliated and associated with you and Rob and the podcast, that's how a lot of people in the public eye see me. They're like, oh, even when my friends are introducing me, hey, this is Ken. He has the podcast with Teddy Atlas. It's not lost on me that I represent our team when I'm out in the wild, so to speak. And so yeah, that added not pressure but responsibility has helped me in more ways than I can say. So thank you to you guys, to Rob, for allowing me again to be part of this, because it's helped me raise my game and elevate my life in ways that I never imagined, including being lucky enough to be here at Jesse Itzler's house in Atlanta. For those who don't know, he is married to Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx, 2 of the nicest people in the world. They're part of the owners of the Atlanta Hawks, and they were kind enough to let me stay here with them, and that's why I'm in Jesse's studio here recording today. But this is all part of the same, all tied together. It's like being part of the podcast, running. It's like if you get back from the world exactly what you put into the world. And it's never been more evident to me in the last few months and weeks than it has recently. Is just I've been getting back what I've been giving out, which is hopefully just kindness and understanding and generosity. And the gifts I've received as a result have been immense and incredible. And so thank you again.
You used the word before, the right word, responsibility. It's funny, like we do promotions for Athletic Greens, which obviously is a very good product. We do the real thing. We don't promote it unless we use it, unless we think it's real, it's good. So it's a real product, and it's important. It helps you in the nutriment world to get the proper nutriment that you need for anything in the world to be a little better, to be on your game. But especially if you're an elite athlete, it's even more helpful with the proper products like that. But the word responsibility, that's a product that's not used enough. And that's one that doesn't get promoted. That's one that's not for sale in the stores. And that's one that's available to everybody. Get a little responsibility in your freaking life, because you know what? It'll freaking help you. Yeah, the Athletic Greens will help you too, but a little responsibility in more people's lives out there in our country right now would go a damn long way in helping those people get to a further place, get to a better place, get to the right place. Just being responsible for something instead of having no responsibility, no accountability. Okay, I said my piece. Let's get to football. Now,
hold on. Before you do, while you're talking Athletic Greens, please go to athleticgreens.com/Atlas and take advantage of a special offer for our listeners. 10 free travel packs with your first purchase. Athletic Greens is the all-in-one green drink, multivitamin. It's the only supplement you need. People ask me all the time, if you only could take one supplement, because I take a lot, which would it be? And I say Athletic Greens. It's 75 whole food sourced ingredients. It's got probiotics, prebiotics, multivitamins, everything that you need, one-stop shop. Mix it with a little bit of water in the morning, drink it down. It tastes great. It's easy to use. And the travel packs are invaluable for when you are on the road, if you happen to travel a lot. So go to athleticgreens.com/Atlas to take advantage of the special offer. And it also helps the show. So if you enjoy the show, treat yourself to some Athletic Greens. Help us help you. Let's talk football, Teddy. Great. Second game was great. First game, not so great. Let's start with Philly.
All right. First of all, the Philadelphia Eagles, they wound up winning, with a, it was a blowout, but against the 49ers, but it was sad. It was tough because the 49ers, even though I'm going to use something that would normally be attached to a team that's named after a bird, but the 49ers, they basically became a bird with no wings. I mean, birds aren't supposed to walk.
They had one hammer, though, in Christian McCaffrey. Holy cow, is that guy a football player?
Yeah, he is. He's the complete package. But you need a quarterback.
100%.
And, they started with their third-string quarterback who was becoming a Cinderella story. He was terrific. The last guy drafted in last year's,
Mr. Irrelevant.
this past year's. Yeah, Mr. Irrelevant, and he's doing terrific. And then he gets hurt. His wing, again, staying with these analogies.
He gets his wing clipped.
His wing gets clipped.
He must have been really hurt, though, by the way, because as I was watching the game with some guys, we were like, he's got to get in. This is it. This is for all the marbles. He has to go.
He came in, but he couldn't throw.
And I said, if this guy could throw, he'd be in there. He must have a really bad injury.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So now they go to their fourth-string quarterback. Nobody wants to go to their fourth-string quarterback, right?
Understandably, after watching.
Yeah, right? 100%. My son said, they're in trouble. My son texted me immediately from California because he was out there scouting the NFLPA's All-Star game. He's working for them, and he was out there scouting that. So he texted me right away, this is over. I said, this guy's bad? He goes, yeah, we had him years ago in Oakland, and he's bad.
So bad they were ready to use Christian McCaffrey as their fifth-string quarterback.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he got concussed, the poor guy, so he's out because of the concussion protocol. His head hit the mat. I was going to say everything's boxing to me, but hit the ground, and then so he's out, and then I mean they're just done. So the analogy I would use in getting ready for the next game and getting ready for the Super Bowl and setting this whole thing up is that the Eagles, to me, of course they look terrific, but to me, and maybe they look like the anointed one, maybe they look like this is their year. This is the year that the Eagles fly. Maybe that's it. But they also, I look at everything through the lens of a fight, and they're that fighter that hasn't really been tested. They're that fighter that has had easier schedule than the other fighter that they're going to fight. And sometimes we know what that can lead to. That can lead to problems when you finally do get tested. And Kansas City's been tested. They're that fighter that's been tested. Yeah. They've been in with everyone, and they have the experience. They've been on the big stage. They've been on the spotlight. They've won the Super Bowl. Their quarterback's been there before, And so they have the experience. They have the record that is maybe more legitimate, if you will, as far as having fought and beaten the better fighters, the better teams. But the Eagles look damn good. As far as the Kansas City game, I have to say, I tear the crap out of the boxing officials, and they deserve to have the crap torn out of them, their gizzards torn out, everything torn out because of the way they behave, because of how inept they are sometimes and how corrupt they make you think they are at times. And my sport, unfortunately, has a history of corruption. So you look at that. But man, Ken, are you on board with me? These refs have to get better in the NFL. Really?
They have to get better, but that last call, the guy
the last call, I get it.
I get it. Guy, man,
but stupid. Stupid. But I'm talking about leading up to that. There was some calls in that game that were I thought they were bad, but they touched the game. They influenced the game.
Seems like with the use of replay, we should be able to avoid this at this point. Like there should be another team of officials watching and be able to overrule them after getting a second look. Why not? Take a second
There's
look.
a lot of money involved. I mean, it's $1 billion business.
Exactly. You have 20 guys looking at it. Be like, hold on.
At the end of the game, the thing that made me feel bad as a sports fan, because you want to see it won or lost in a ring or on the field, right, Ken?
Yeah, exactly.
And to see that player, one of the stupidest penalties you're ever going to get, that he pushes Mahomes when he's already out of bounds. And he adds 15 yards onto it.
Gave it away. And they made the field goal by like 1 yard. Barely made it over.
Maybe a few more than 1 yard. But yeah,
certainly not
it looked
15.
like... No, according to Tony Romo, he said it only made it by about 6-7 yards. Now, if you move it back 15 yards, even with me, who was never that good at math, I think I could calculate that he might have come up short. Now, look, he might have put a better
different kick.
Maybe, but still. It would have been damn harder in that cold weather in Kansas City from 15 yards farther out than it was where he wound up kicking it, and then he kicked it through. Listen, it was a great game, great effort on both sides, great quarterbacks. Oh, that's what I thought it was going to go. That's where it should have went. It should have been won or lost in overtime by what the players did, not by what a stupid penalty. And again, it was his fault for getting the penalty, but that should not have obstructed such a great final of a great game.
Can't help but feel bad for the guy on the penalty, because
I did too.
It was like a bang play where he just in hindsight was like, oh, what did I do?
Terrible.
You see it all the time, but like we talk about mental errors, you got to be
mental errors. It's every 75% of everything. All the fights out there, fights in life, fight in football, fight in the cage, fight in the ring, wherever the frick the fight is. 75% of it's mental. It's mental. And I'll leave you with this last thing. I know it was bang, 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 and it was in the midst of chaos, but think before you do things. That's my lesson. That's Teddy's lesson for the day.
Yeah.
All right?
All right.
Let's
Before
go.
we get into
Let's
the
go.
fights, let me say congratulations to our Philly guys, Sonny and Frank Conto. I know they listen to the show all the time, and I know they're going to be happy about the Dirty Birds going to the Super Bowl, along with my friend OT the Real, the rapper, rap legend from Philly. I'm happy for you guys. I hate the Eagles, but I'm happy for my Philly friends.
What is the record? What is his the heavyweights record now? Because he's a good kid,
Yeah.
and his father and him make a good team. But what?
Yeah, give me one
what's
sec.
his
Let me.
record?
I'll tell you right now.
Because as long as we're giving him a shout out, because everybody in the sport listens to this.
Undefeated 11-0 with 9 knockouts. Big Frank, the Italian, the Bronco. Sorry, I was going to call him the Italian Stallion. Sonny, the Bronco Conto from, I think he's from South Philly. Italian kid. Reminds me of Rocky Balboa, a little really nice kid. And his father is his trainer. Great guys.
He fights better than Rocky, though. He fights. I mean,
I hope he has as good a career as Rocky. Rocky ended up making a lot of money.
No, Rocky had a good career. All right.
Speaking of Rocky, I know you're a big fan of the new movie coming out, Creed 3 coming out.
Yeah, because Ben Amana, he's the CEO of a clothing company that I'm involved with, Box Raw. I think it's a great, it's really a great
stuff.
clothing
36
company.
collection
They do
from Teddy
sports stuff.
Atlas. If you're looking for some boxing gear and you want to look like the real deal, whether you are or you're not, you can at least look the part by getting some Box Raw gear from the 36 collection, Teddy Atlas. 36 minutes to make life fair.
Well, they make a good product, Box Raw. They're over in London, and they're going to move to New York. I can't wait. But Ben is a good guy. He's the CEO and the founder of the company, and they're very involved in with Michael B. Jordan, who's a tremendous actor. Yeah. They're involved with him and clothing, doing a lot of the clothing for that Creed 3 fight movie, where they're involved with their product, being involved there, and Michael B. Jordan has good taste.
Well, you know that everyone's going to look good in the film if Box Raw's outfit, and they make great stuff.
Yeah. So we're going to go the February 28th. There's I was telling you guys about it, and that's what you're talking about. There's a premiere for the Creed 3 in New York, and we're going to go over there. We're going to be with Ben and, support him and see that great product, Box Raw, out there in the movie.
Nice.
So,
well, speaking of boxing, Teddy, let's get into it. One of the best heavyweights in the world, arguably number 1 or 2, Artur Beterbiev in action against Anthony Yarde from London or from England. I think the fight was in London, but it was definitely
in London.
All right. So Beterbiev gets the stoppage in the 8th round. Interesting scorecards. And I'm dying to hear your take on this.
Not interesting. Stop. Listen. Stop sugarcoating it. These judges were ready to do some hometown cooking, whatever you want to freaking call it. It wasn't right. It wasn't right. There's no way that going into the 8th round that anyone should have had Yarde up 5 rounds to 2. 100%. I had it 4-3. I had it 4-3 in favor of Beterbiev. It was a competitive fight, which I thought it would be. But please, 5-2 in favor of the hometown guy Yarde. It's not right. It's not right.
I agree with you 100%. But one of the things I'm curious about,
their fingerprints all over it again. It's like they're getting ready to commit a crime. You know what I mean? It's like they were getting ready to commit a crime, and they never got the chance to commit the crime. But they were getting ready to commit a crime. But you know what? We talk about this as an old thing in boxing, and Beterbiev lives by this. Bring your own judge and jury. Your 2 fists, right? And Beterbiev, he brings his own judge and jury, and because of that, they never got a chance to rob, if that's what they were trying, because it looked like they were trying to rob him.
Yeah, one quick thing, Teddy. I said heavyweight. Obviously, I meant light heavyweight. Apologies.
Yeah, light heavyweight.
Thank you to our producer extraordinaire, Rob, for pointing it out. I know the fans were probably like, this idiot said heavyweight. Sorry, guys. I meant light heavyweight. Sometimes I get excited and say things a little too fast. But Nevertheless, I'm curious to get your thoughts here because I thought that Yarde was hitting him a lot more than I was expecting him. And I thought Beterbiev was easier to hit than I'd seen. He's not necessarily the most elusive guy and relies heavily on his chin from what I've seen in the past. He doesn't shy away from getting cracked. He's just got a granite chin. And when he gets you, he hurts you. And once he started getting to Yarde, it was the beginning of the end. As soon as he started touching him in those later rounds, like after maybe 5th, 6th rounds, he started to put it on him. And then once he did, you could even see Yarde's corner eventually stop the fight in the 8th round. But yeah, refs had two of the 3 judges had Yarde up going into the 8th round, which I agree with you was crazy. Not surprising though. Nothing surprises me in boxing, Teddy. Nothing. If they had Yarde winning every round, I'd be like, oh, well, it's boxing. We would just come to expect.
Yeah, but that's
that.
wrong.
I agree.
That's wrong.
I agree.
That's wrong, and it's wrong in the world now. I see people in my city that I love, in New York City, that I watch it on the news. I don't even want to watch the news. That they see some coward, some doing a horrendous act to some other human being, and they walk by like they didn't see it. So, and then people say to me, oh, they become numb to it. You're numb to what? To being a human being, to having humanity, to knowing the difference between humanity and a lack of humanity, caring for your fellow human being, what's right and wrong. Are you kidding me? We should never get numb in those areas. We should never freaking say, well, that's, just shrug our shoulders in those areas. Never. Agreed. And that's what's starting to happen. That's what's starting to happen in this world. And that's scary. That's scary, people. We can't let that happen. We can't let that happen.
That's what's happening in boxing.
And it happens in boxing. And it shouldn't happen. And Ken brought it up just now, and I'm glad he did, because it's beyond woods. That has been happening for years now in boxing, and it's wrong. It's wrong to just say at the end of a terrible, well, that's boxing, what do you expect? No, let's change it. Let's do something. Let's do something. That's not say it's just what it is and shrug our shoulders. Let's not succumb to that kind of attitude. Let's not do that, because when we do that, we all lose. We all lose when we stop caring about things that we should always care about, right and wrong.
Yep. Well, curious, what did you think? Do you think, to me, I don't know if Beterbiev was fighting to the level of the competition. Maybe he wasn't up for this fight, but I didn't think he looked that good until he got the stoppage when he started putting it on Yarde and landing shots.
Or was it Yarde, Ken?
Yeah.
Was it Yarde looking better than you expected?
That's exactly what I want to know from you, because I don't know. Like, when I watch it, I'm like, wow, is Yarde better or is Beterbiev slipping? I defer to the expert. What do we know? What do you know, Teddy? What happened?
A little bit of both. I predicted before the fight, and I put it out there in the tweets before the fight, and we're getting a lot of activity on these tweets, a lot. And to Ian and Rob and to Brennan, all my Twitter people, thank you.
Part of the team. Everything takes a team. Even if you were doing the show by yourself, it takes a lot of people to make things work.
They are the best, and we got a lot of we get a lot of traffic on our tweets, and the people respond to it, and they appreciate it, and I appreciate that. And so we try to always be there for them and not disappoint them for all the fights and work them. I said before the fight, I expected a tough fight early on. Beterbiev's not the fastest starter in the world. He's not the hardest guy to find, as you were alluding to. Yarde has ability. He's a big light heavyweight, maybe too big. He I don't know how he makes the weight, but he's a huge light heavyweight. He's very physically strong, and he's a good puncher. And, he's got experience. He's been around. He fought Sergey Kovalev. He got beat by him. He had Sergey Kovalev out. He had him really hurt, and then Kovalev came back and wound up stopping him late in that fight for his first loss. Then his second loss, he lost to an undefeated fighter in a decision. So he was not just a token win or token guy. This is a guy, I think it was the mandatory, but this is a guy who deserved to be the mandatory, which most of these mandatories, they're not deserving, unfortunately. They're because of political maneuvering, political purpose that they're put there. But Yarde was real. The problem with Yarde is that he'll dissipate late. If you make him dissipate late, And guess what? Beterbiev's a guy that's going to make you dissipate late, because Beterbiev's a guy, he's kind of like the flame on that stove that's boiling that water. You know, if you get that flame hot enough and you keep it on that stove with that pot of water, sooner or later that pot of water is going to go away. But if the flame's not hot enough, that pot of water is going to hang around. Well, Beterbiev, to his credit, he doesn't let the pot of water hang around usually. You know, what's he, 19-0 now, or 20-0 with 20 knockouts, or 19-0 with 19 knockouts, whatever it is. He's got a 100% knockout record ratio for his, you know, every fight he's won by knockout. He's a guy that you got to beat him. He ain't gonna beat himself. You gotta bring it. You gotta bring your lunch. All those old phrases and axioms. You need them all. You're gonna be there all day. And as I said, I had put out there in the tweets, and even before that, where
19-0 with 19 knockouts. Sorry.
Where I thought Yarde could hurt him early because Beterbiev starts slowly. He could hurt him, get his attention, shake him up early, and then Beterbiev would have to get to him late. And it would be a contested fight and a good fight. And it was. And Beterbiev, to your question earlier, where I said it's a matter of both Yarde being better than you think and Beterbiev sliding. Beterbiev's 38 years old. He had over 300 amateur fights. He fought the best in the world for years. He's been in a bunch of wars in the pros. He's getting older, and it's showing. It's starting to show. Definitely starting to show a little bit. It's sliding. But the one thing that don't get old is character. Character and power. Ask George Foreman, ask me about that. George Foreman will tell you, yeah, and he'll show you, and he proved, and he lived it, that power, it stays around, and character stays around. And that's Beterbiev. He's getting old. His body's getting old. His reflexes are getting slow. Everything else, and he's a little easier to find now, and his skin cuts up easier and breaks easier now than it did before. But his character, that's eternal. That doesn't dissipate with age. That doesn't disappear. That doesn't get boiled away on a pot. And that's what he won by. Matter of fact, I'll make it real simple. I'll break the fight down. But I tell you, really what it all is about, in a nutshell, is what my mentor, Customato, for 8 years when I was up there with him, being forged, first as a fighter, then as a trainer by this man. We had commandments. We had laws. We had codes to live by, to train by, to be a great fighter, to be a great trainer. And one of the things that he used to repeat to me over and over, and it was one of the first commandments, if you would, when it comes to understanding how to develop a great fighter and what it takes to be a great fighter. He used to always say over and over to me, Teddy, when there's a battle going on with two men with comparable skills, that at the end of the day, the man with the greater will always triumph. Will always beat out skill, unless one man's skill is so far superior that his will is never really tested. And that's what this fight was all about. It was, forget about everything else, and you're not going to hear it anywhere else. But yeah, the skill, the counter, this, that kind of left hook by, all that stuff, the jabs were important, all that. At the end of the day, this fight was won because Beterbiev had the greater will. That he broke down, it took 8 rounds, but he broke down Yarde physically and mentally. And it was a terrific fight. And I give Yarde credit and everything. But I'm going to point out everything. Things that other people ain't going to point out because they don't know. Or they don't want to. Or they just can't. Whatever it is. But first of all, from the easy way, from the physical standpoints, the jab was very important in this fight for both fighters. For Yarde to keep separation so he could create counter punches when Beterbiev came forward. And for Beterbiev, the jab was important to give him cover when he does come forward. You know, to kind of like having a smoke screen as you come forward, you know, to block the guy's vision a little bit, make it harder for him to take pot shots at you, put bugs on the windshield, like I used to say when I was calling fights, when you're using your jab to press forward. So the jab was very important. And Yarde, early on, I gave him the first 2 rounds, and he was able to use his counter left hook. He was able to do some good scoring. He was able to use his legs enough to keep that separation, to keep Beterbiev from being set to deliver those powerful shots. And then Beterbiev caught Yarde at the end of the third with a good left hook, and he won that round. It was 2-1. I had to fight. It was going back and forth. I had to fight, as I said at the top of the show, 4-3 after 7. Going into the 8th round. But the fight for Beterbiev, it's in total. And what I mean by that, it's the total sum of parts with him in a real way. It's the pressure that he brings round after round that takes time. That's why I tweeted that Yarde would give him trouble early. Because Beterbiev, with his style, with his abilities, with his talents, it takes time to get to you. It gets time to warm the engine up. It gets time, as I said earlier, with the metaphor of having that flame boil the water and to get rid of the water. It takes time. A fighter is like a puddle outside in the middle of July, and the sun starts to evaporate the puddle right in front of your eyes, and you look at the puddle, and then an hour later the puddle's gone, that the sun has, just evaporated, as I said. That's Beterbiev. He evaporates you, and it takes time to do that, and it took him 8 rounds to do that. And I'll tell you, there was some funny stuff going on there that I'd like to understand a little better. One thing was, first of all, how he dropped him. Early in 8th round, Beterbiev just missed. If I was commentating, I would have said this. He just missed by a hair. He just missed a beautiful short right hand. He throws beautiful short right hands sometimes. He just missed it, landed it clean on Yarde. Yarde was starting to drop his left hand to throw a lead left uppercut, which is very dangerous because you expose yourself. And Beterbiev saw it, and he tried to shoot the right hand in that gap, and he just didn't quite time it perfect, but it went into the computer. See, Beterbiev is a Terminator. Beterbiev is that Terminator, that, remember Arnold Schwarzenegger in the Terminator? He calculates. He calculates right away. The red lines go out, and then the crossing red lines, they go all different directions, and he starts to see where your weakness is. He saw that. He saw that in the 8th round, and he put it in his computer, and then later in the 8th round, he saw it again. He was looking for it. He saw the left hand of Yarde start to bang. This time he didn't miss. The right hand perfect. Oh my goodness, what a beautiful thing. Beautiful timed, placed right hand as the left hand was dropping for the uppercut. So well done, and it drops him. Fight's over basically. But here's the kicker, Ken. Nobody picked up on. Yarde gets up, goes over to his corner, stumbles a little bit, goes over to his corner, and he says something to his corner. He said something to the trainer at the bottom of the steps. I don't know what he said. But he said something. And then the fight resumes. He gets hurt again, and all of a sudden the trainer, and I'm not saying he was wrong, but the trainer jumps up. Some people thought it was a little quick. I didn't think it was. But all of a sudden the trainer jumps up and stops the fight. Right? I'm thinking, again, that's me, but I look at everything. I'm thinking, Ken, wait a minute. What did Mr. Yarde say to his trainer 3 seconds earlier or 4 seconds earlier? What did he say? Did he say stop it? Did he? I don't know. I'm not saying I know. I don't know. I'm telling you, I don't know. But I know he said something. And then I know seconds later, after Beterbiev goes in there to finish the job, he gets up and he stops the fight. And the referee sees that he's stopping the fight. And the referee, of course, does what the corner complies him to do. Stops the fight. And so that's just an added little thing in there that I'm curious about. But at the end of the day, what I'm not curious about is Beterbiev. I know what Beterbiev is. He's the Terminator. And he's getting older. Remember Arnold in the comeback of the Terminator when he was older? He's getting older. He's still a Terminator, but he's getting older now. And there's a problem. There's another Terminator. We'll talk about it when you're ready. But there's another Terminator out there named Bivol. And Bivol's a different Terminator. Do you remember the more advantaged prototype of Terminator, the one that could turn into liquid metal? You remember that one, Ken?
Yeah.
That was the advanced prototype Terminator, right? Yeah, that's Bivol. That's Bivol. Bivol, whatever you call him. It don't matter. Because he can fight. But he's more advanced because he's technically better and more advanced than the first Terminator, the original Terminator. Beterbiev. He's more advanced than Beterbiev. But there's one thing that all the Terminators have. And that's the thing that this fight was all about, that I started this about. Will. And see, that's the problem. That's the problem when he fights Bivol. Bivol has skill. He's more advanced. He's more sophisticated. And he's also got will. He's also got that will that Beterbiev has. He also has that code of behavior, of conduct, of combat that Beterbiev carries around, that pride, that what we were talking about at the onset of this show, that responsibility to more than himself, to his people, to people that will look at what he does, that it matters to him what he does in a ring, the way that it presents him to those people, to that past, to that history, to that town, to his parents, to whatever it is. There's a responsibility beyond himself. That makes him dangerous. That makes Bivol more than just a cute boxer, more than just a cutie in there like the old timers. That guy's a cutie. That's what they meant. They was slick. But he's got that part too. And that's what's going to make a nightmare. And I'll get into it more when you're ready for that fight with Beterbiev, to project that, in advance, because sooner or later it's going to happen, I guess, or people would like it to happen. But Canelo is out there, and of course, Bivol can make more money with Canelo. So who knows what's going to happen and when it'll happen. But you would hope it happens, and you would hope it doesn't happen too long, because at 38 years of age, like I said, Beterbiev is not getting younger. But and to finish up, Yarde, good job, kudos to you, but he did get broken down, and at the end of the day, those judges, I wish Yarde and Beterbiev showed nothing but class at the end of the fight, and character. They showed nothing but class, the way they act, the way they talk, and Beterbiev talks like a warrior. He talks like a samurai. He really does. He very humble, very serious, very honest. I mean, just no junk at all. I mean, matter of fact, when they asked him a question, what do you want to be? What do you want to do? What do you expect of yourself? I want to be a better boxer someday. Wow.
I thought his
Wow.
interview was incredible.
At this stage in your career, that's what you say? Wow. I mean, what a representation of what a warrior is supposed to be like inside and outside the ring. And again, Yarde, credit, nothing but class. I just wish that the judges had that kind of class. I wish the judges had that kind of character. I really do, Ken, but they don't. They don't. And a couple things to clean up here before I just hand it off to you is that, well, Yarde, I want to make a note. I want to give him his props that he showed, obviously early on, that he had the talent, which I knew he did. He had the physical talent to hang in there with Beterbiev, which he did. But more importantly, when the hood got raised in a car that I talk about a lot of time, he showed that there was something under the hood, that there was a carburetor there with heart, and you know, it wasn't just all about horsepower. That there was there was something else there. He showed that for the first 7 rounds, and but then he started to crack. And he spit his mouthpiece out a couple times, or he lost his mouthpiece. He was looking to get, right there it showed you the cracks. Right there it showed you Beterbiev, you know, that he was starting to get to him. That he was looking to keep this beast off him a little bit and to buy some time, losing a mouthpiece. So the cracks started to show. They started to show. And then the other thing is, I made a note so I don't forget. Boxing, matter of fact, it's funny. I made a note to myself. I said, boxing is like a card game. A royal flush beats a full house. Character beats talent every time. And that's what I opened up about. And, you know, obviously that's what I'm sticking to. And one other thing. Early on, the commentator said that Yarde, and did you catch this, Ken? It just, I don't know. Early on, the commentator says, Yarde is all about smoke and mirrors. Wow, that's funny. I don't know. I thought that left hook looked like it was more than smoke. That left hook looked pretty real to me. You know what I mean? It looked pretty me. I mean, really, it looked pretty real to me because obviously you're intimating that he's not real. But that left hook looked kind of real. And again, another great crowd across the pond with our great British brothers and sisters. Those British fans, they're unbelievable. They come out. And I have one more little, whatever you want to call it, thing I got to get out of my shoe, like a little stone that's bothering me. The ring announcers, I mean, come on. This ring announcer was stealing other signature calls. I see these ring announcers doing this every week. Like, can they just be original, please? Can they just stop? I mean, I guess everyone needs a catchy signature phrase, Ken, but I got one. How's this? You ready? You ready for mine? You ready for Teddy Atlas's coming right here from the fight with Teddy Atlas and Ken Rideout? Are you ready for my signature call? How about ring the damn bell? How about that? Instead of all this freaking crap. You know what I mean? That they just one after another. It's gotten to the point, like I said, they're stealing each other phrases. Like, I mean, stop already. I mean, stop. You know, well, that great comedian. What's his name? Sebastian Maniscalco.
Maniscalco, yeah.
Maniscalco, where he says, he goes, say it, Ken, say it.
Are you embarrassed?
Yeah, there it is. Come on.
One thing I will say about the commentators.
And one other thing. I know that they love to make these video pieces, Ken. You know, they love to make them. But when you have a guy who's just a writer, he hasn't done any fighting in his life, and he creates the narration, it just becomes a bit unrealistic, enhanced, if you will. How about just the truth? Because in the piece, maybe he thinks everyone's stupid, but I don't think you people out there are stupid. I think you got brains in your head. I think that you're going to figure for yourself instead of someone just feeding you something to listen to and believe automatically because it's on a video and because they're telling you. But I think you have your own eyes and your own brain, your own judgment to say, wait a minute, Does that ring true? Or does that not ring true? When he said that there are no fighters like Beterbiev. Listen, I love Beterbiev. That's pretty obvious. I love the guy. I admire the guy. I respect the guy in every which way, inside and outside the ring. But there's no, I know it's your guy. I know that you got to enhance it because you're howling for your meal, because you're making a living on the network and you got to build them up and for Top Rank. All right, I understand. But no other fighters like Beterbiev. Ken, last I checked, there's a few other guys out there that can punch and that are aggressive, that are tough. Inoue, the great fighter from Japan. He's a little similar.
Even if you want to just stick with light heavyweight, there was a guy called Evander Holyfield. Is Beterbiev like classes above him? I mean, you can go down the list.
I think
there's a whole bunch of guys that are just like him.
I think there was. Listen, I love Beterbiev again. I love him, but I mean, are you serious that there's nobody else? I'll tell you one that was just like him, but he got old. Like they all do. Triple G. Yep. He was very similar to him. I mean,
exactly.
You know,
always a gentleman. Always a gentleman on the mic. Handles his business. But one thing that I was happy about is they have Bernardo on the call. Bernardo Osuna. I've always liked him. He's just a nice guy. I don't get the impression, and maybe you have a different opinion, but I don't get the impression he's ever trying to be anyone that he's not. He just gets in there, acts like a professional, says what he sees. He's not like too loud. He's not like Joe Tess. Every fight is Ali Frazier. He's not trying to like reinvent the wheel or create a catchphrase with every single fight. Like, okay, you know.
No, I'm with you.
All right. Okay, so they're talking Bivol, Beterbiev next. I mean, I got to tell you, speaking, picking up on what I said earlier, if Beterbiev looked like he was maybe slowing down a step, or if Yarde looked just better than we expected, after watching the fight, I think I lean much heavier towards Bivol winning that fight. Because I think, and again, this is just my layman's opinion. I'm just a fan like everyone who's listening, even regardless of how hardcore you think you are. From your regular Ken the boxing fan, it looks to me like Bivol's at the top of his game, as sharp as he's ever been in his last two performances. And I want to get your opinion. If you think Beterbiev slowing, or he's just fighting to the level of competition, which I think he's done in the past, and he always seems.
Well, he's slowing down. No, like I said earlier, Ken, he's slowing down.
Am I seeing that correctly?
He's cutting up easier, and he's 38 years old. He's had 300 amateur fights, as I said earlier. A lot of tough fights in the pros. Listen, he's he's aging. Nobody beats Father Time.
After the fight this weekend, I know you had Bivol with a slight advantage. After the fight against Yarde, do you have Bivol as a bigger favorite or closer to even after this latest outing from Beterbiev?
I never will rule out Beterbiev. He's got power.
Completely
he's got
agree.
character.
But if you had to make a
he's
line,
got pride.
Before and after.
Listen, I got Bivol. I got Bivol a solid favorite. For me, my line's going to be different than someone else's, but for me, I got him a solid favor. That I'll go all the way out, like I always go all the way out on the limb. I mean, I'm not going to stop now at this point in my life. I think I think there's a good chance he stops him late in the fight, either by cuts or by just an endless barrage of punches where, Beterbiev he's not a defensive wizard, right? I think that's fair. Where there'll be a steady barrage of combinations where finally the referee would probably have to stop it, or his corner would have to stop it. I think there's a chance that the fight could go down that kind of road where that could be what you wind up seeing. If the fight ever happens, I think that it definitely could go that way. I think the jab would be important. Obviously, Bivol's going to use that jab. I think the jab, we should not underestimate the jab of Beterbiev. It's very hard. It's like a foam pole. George Foreman had a foam pole jab. Well, I think then, let me hit this. I think that Yes, I have a fax machine, you guys. I am a caveman.
More importantly than having a fax machine, yes, I have a fax machine, and no, I don't know how to turn it off.
I don't know. I think I do, and I don't. And I need help. People out there, if you haven't noticed, I need help. I need help in a lot of areas. I really do. Thank God for my family. Thank God for Ken. Thank God for Rob, for Ian, for Brennan, for all my team, for Sam here in front. I need help. But I do know something about boxing. I'll get back to that where I can help myself in that area. And in that area, I would say do not dismiss the importance of the jab. Like I said, George Foreman had a phone pole jab. Well, Beterbiev has, it's not as long as big and long as a phone pole, but it's a shorter version of a sledgehammer. He's got a hard, accurate jab. He would have to use that to keep Beterbiev, just to keep him honest, to keep him from dominating the outside, which is what he's going to try to do, to keep him from pot-shotting him too much, which is what he's going to wind up doing if he gets his way, to keep a little control of that geography, or try to control that geography, that space, the best that he can early on. And he's going to have to go to the body. He's going to have to find a way to get close enough to go to the body of Bivol. And Bivol's going to do what he does. He's going to control range. He's going to be consistent. That's the key. He's going to be consistent. He's going to be mentally consistent, which most fighters against Beterbiev, they're not. They get intimidated. They get broken down. They get dissipated. They get evaporated. He's not going to get evaporated. That's the key. That's the big thing. That really is the big thing with him. Like I said earlier, he's a Terminator too, but he's a Terminator, that's more sophisticated. He turns into liquid metal. And I think he'll use his legs as much as he has to, but to the point where not too much. He'll be set. He'll use his legs, but more to get ahead of Beterbiev, to get out there, to control the range, to get out where he creates space, where he can then catch Beterbiev, make him pay a price for the real estate he's going to have to try to make up, and be set to punch. So he won't move too much. He'll be moving, but he'll be set to punch at the same time, and being able to have offense. A lot of guys move and they survive against Beterbiev, but they can't win because they're not able to create offense moving that much. But the thing about Bivol, he will move and at the same time be able to create offense along the way while he's doing it without giving up defense. And that's important. That's important, what I just said there. I don't know if the fight will happen, but because there's a guy named Canelo in the mix there that will probably try to get Bivol to come down to 168, which I would hate to see happen. He's a light heavyweight. Don't make him come down there for the money. And they probably will. But that's going to compromise him a little bit if he's got to come down there for the money at 168. I want to see Canelo he's got the pride. He wants to make up for that loss. All right, fight him at the weight that he is, that you fought him the first time when you underrated him. All right, when you underrated him, you did. Fight him at his weight, which is 175, light heavyweight. Do that if you're going to do it. Or if you're not going to do that, stay at 168 and fight Beterbiev. And then I'll take my hat off. I'll take my hat off to you. I really will if you do that. But don't say you're the best 168-pounder in the world even if you can't beat the other best 168-pounder in the world, a guy named Beterbiev. So, and Beterbiev, I know he's fighting Plant. I think he's going to go through Plant. I like Plant. But I just think that fight for Plant against Beterbiev too big, too strong. He's also got a great amateur background, in his life, in his history, in his blood. I think that fight's going to be kind of like going down the shore, Ken. I know you go down the shore every once in a while. You go down the shore and you just sit there at the dock of the bay and you watch the high tide come in. I think that's what you're going to be watching in that fight. You're just going to be waiting to see when the high tide comes in. And maybe it's going to be 3, 4, 5 rounds, 6. But in that fight, Plant and Beterbiev, the high tide's going to come in. The high tide's going to come. And when it comes in, what do? You get off the dock. You get off the dock, you go to your house. Well, guess what? Yeah, you get off the beach. Plant's gonna
to be washed away.
There it is. Plant's gonna get washed off the beach. That's the problem.
I hope
he's gonna get
like
washed.
Like you said, we both
no,
really
I
like
him.
Caleb.
But that's how I feel.
Yeah.
And
the truth is the truth.
You know, and well, the truth is important in this business, in this world, and you don't get it all the time.
I know Caleb Plant, and if he hears this, and I know he will, and he should feel this way, like I'm going to prove you guys wrong, and I'm going to show you who I am.
Yeah, and
I
good.
hope he does.
Bring it, and I want him to. I want him to. Good,
Yep.
Beautiful. I would like him to. But anyway, that's pretty much my 2 cents.
That's
3
your
cents, 4
story,
cents, 5
and
cents.
Sticking to it.
Yeah, well, that's my story. Like the great Jack Newfield, my friend who I miss every day. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And then you got less serious stuff. But listen, I don't want to mock it. I know you're going to take me there. I don't want to mock it because anyone gets in the ring, I ain't mocking them. I'm not. And I have a lot of respect for Jake Paul, what he's done, and the way he's done it. He's trained hard to become the best fighter he can be, and he's a work in progress, and he's still working. He's still trying to be better.
You're stealing my thunder, Teddy. Hold on. I want to tell you.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I want to tell you, Teddy, let's get to the fight that the whole boxing world is talking about. Let's cut the BS. Fury, Usyk, nope. Bivol versus Beterbiev, nope. We all want to know, Teddy, Jake Paul, Tommy Fury, who wins, why, and how?
Well, they gave you a little. I know, you're just dying to hear this one. And you represent the fans out there.
One quick thing: ESPN's going to air the fight, so I loved hearing them throw it to the studio to ESPN and hearing the analysts at ESPN and the fighters have to talk about Jake Paul in glaring and glowing terms because you know it killed them to do it. But hey, and we've had Jake on the show, and I've said it, and you said it. Like, hey, congratulations! He's entertaining us. He's making money. So what? He's getting in the ring and fighting for money.
And listen, the promoters out there in boxing ain't giving us the fights we want anyway.
Exactly.
So he's keeping it active. He's taking advantage of an empty spot there, empty space.
But
there.
Even the purists now, ESPN has to they're over there banging the drum like Jake Paul, and they're talking about him in first he wins Sports Illustrated Fighter of the Year. Now ESPN is doing segments in between big prize fights, so it's kind of like it's a weird Twilight Zone moment that we have going on here. But hey, congratulations to Jake. He's putting butts in seats and generating revenue, and that's what it matters. That's all that matters. You don't like it, don't watch. I like it.
And to your point, the way that you built this up, who wants to see Crawford Spence? Please. That was brilliant, Ken. You're right. Who wants to? You got the pulse on the boxing fan out there. Who wants to see that? Who wants to see that shenanigans? That charade? Nobody. They want to see this, and in true fashion, true WWE fashion, because it shows you WWE is still alive and well, where they brought him in the ring, they put him face to face. I mean, really,
it's actually pretty funny.
Come on. I mean, that was right up there with Hulk Hogan, and Rowdy Piper. Remember them? Remember Rowdy Piper and Hulk Hogan?
Roddy Piper.
There it is. With the, and he wore the kilts. Hey, you got to be tough to wear kilts. You got to be tough to wear kilts.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Randy Savage.
Coco
Randy
Beware.
Savage. Andre the Giant.
The $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase.
The $1 Million Man.
We could do a whole
segment. There he is.
Who can come up with the most obscure wrestling
name?
Let's
keep going.
McDaniels. The British Bulldogs.
The British Bulldogs. What was the guy? What was that crazy guy that used to lick you?
Georgie the Animal Steel.
Georgie the Animal, yeah. He had a green tongue.
Kowloons.
He had a green tongue. A green tongue. Green freaking tongue. How about who was the guy that was dead? What was his name?
Undertaker.
The Undertaker.
Triple
I
H,
know.
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
You got them all.
Speaking of
You got
wrestling,
it.
there was
Your
actually
kids
a
are gonna
pretty
love
good
it.
move, pretty good moment in, I don't watch wrestling, but I saw the highlights all over the internet. Logan Paul was in, excuse me for not knowing this stuff, but I think it was a Royal Rumble, a bunch of guys in the ring. You got to throw the other guys out of the ring. But at one point, Teddy, there's a guy called Ricochet who's really acrobatic, and he was on one side, not in the corner, just in the middle of the ropes. He was on one side, Logan Paul was on the other. They both, at the same exact time, simultaneously jumped up on the top rope, launched themselves at each other, collided in midair. They had to be about 7 feet off the canvas, collided.
When was this, Ken?
This weekend, chest to chest, and then just both crashed to the canvas. When I was watching it, I saw it and I called my kids in, and I'm thinking to myself, can you imagine the writers like, all right, guys, here's what you're going to do. I want you to jump as high as you can, smash into each other, and land on the canvas. Buddy, but if I do that, like, one of us might actually really get hurt. Don't worry about that. It's all for entertainment. You wonder, like, where do they draw the line?
Uncle Bob will take care of it.
Exactly.
He'll compensate you.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. You talk about you go in, there'll be a new one. You know what the new one is? You know what the new one will be? The Invisible Man.
Listen,
real quick.
We're going to just decapitate you real quick, but don't worry about it. We're going to put your head right back on. Oh, here it is. So Rob just pulled it up. Look at this, Teddy.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, where do you draw the line? Like, guys, just launch yourself into each other. What if our heads hit each other? Don't worry about that. Be a man.
Wow. That's pretty aerobatic. That's pretty acrobatic. That's pretty wow. That's they should bring them out for the Eagles and let them fly, before the Super Bowl. Let them,
Eagles fly.
Put feathers on them, right?
One more for you, Teddy. The Great Kabuki.
The Great Kabuki. All right,
Mr.
you got them all.
Mr. Fuji.
Your kids are going to be very proud of you. You got them all, but I think the real greatest of them all was probably Hulk Hogan.
Oh, the Hulkster, of course.
And Andre the Giant. Andre the Giant.
Oh, wait a minute. How could we forget the Iron Sheik?
The Iron Sheik.
I mean, did that guy ever play a role? The Iranian, the wrestler, the like hardcore, like communist type character with the mustache.
He was good. He was
Sheiky
he
baby.
was before his
Sheiky
time.
baby.
He was before his time.
I have a feeling, from what I heard, the old Sheikster, he wasn't afraid to do a little drinking in Peruvian matching powder, if you know what I mean. He'd like to get after that.
Oh, that's why you don't see the Sheik no more. That's why you're not going to be seeing him no more.
Yeah.
Won't be seeing him no more.
Hey, whatever happened to so-and-so? Yeah, you won't be seeing him anymore.
Yeah, won't be seeing him no more.
You said a few things. You said a few things.
Yeah. That's that. And that's the end of that one.
Tommy Fury and Jake Paul. Teddy, for me, Jake Paul takes after like the great Floyd Mayweather, to a certain extent, some of the other greats like I don't want to pick on anyone, but they know, like Canelo, let's say, they know how to pick their opponents. I gotta believe.
Yeah, I've said that before. Listen, I've said that on his air. Listen,
I know. But what I was going to say is
he almost studies. Give him credit.
He's been pursuing Tommy for so long. He's chasing him to Saudi Arabia. I gotta believe Jake sees something that he can get Tommy out of there.
Well, I said it before. He's almost been an understudy of the great Floyd Mayweather, really. Yeah. And that's a positive thing. Where we're not talking about as a fighter. We're talking about in this business as a businessman, as a matchmaker, as a manager, just as a smart, calculating man. Jake Paul has been every bit of Floyd Mayweather. Yeah, I know some people get crazy, and I could care less. But I'm not talking about him in the ring to the level of a guy who fought and won a bronze medal in the Olympics, and a guy who's been fighting since he's 7 years old, a guy who had 200 amateur fights, a guy who's won all kinds of world titles in Floyd Mayweather. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about, Floyd was very smart in picking his opponents and just a genius businessman. And Jake Paul is very smart at picking opponents, and he's a genius businessman. And give him credit. Give him credit, damn it. It's the American way. And he's also, as I said, I don't have a problem with, because he went, got a trainer, he worked his backside off to become the best fighter he could, and he's still doing it. He's still doing it. He's still trying to get better. He's, he's never going to be a world-class fighter. We understand that, but he's going to be the best he can be, and he's trying to be the best he can be. He respected the sport enough to go about it the right way, and yeah, he's careful, he's picking up, but there's still risk. There's still risk. He deserves respect, and there's still a risk when he gets into that freaking ring. He's getting in there with real people that throw real punches. Now, to break down this fight with Tommy Fury, he picked him for a reason. And they're selling it. They're making each other antagonists and all that stuff. They're doing the WWE stuff, all of that. You got the British fans over there. That'll add to it. That'll bring more noise to it, more attention to it, all of that. But Fury, he's a guy who's obviously been fighting longer. He comes from the Fury family. He's obviously had more experience. He's been around boxing most of his life. He knows how to look like a fighter. I don't know if he knows how to fight like a fighter, but he knows how to look like a fighter. I know that Paul, and people are going to go nuts with this, and no one else would go down this road. Nobody. But they wouldn't even know how. But Jake Paul is learning how to behave like a fighter. He really is. And I don't know that Tommy Fury completely knows that yet, at least not from what he's been in there with. I mean, I'm going to put it in context. I'm going to put it out there the right way. The combined records, Tommy Fury is 8-0, okay? And he's got 4 knockouts. The combined records of all of his 8 opponents, Ken, is you ready? You ready, Ken? All right. 24 wins, 176 losses, and 5 draws. That's the combined record of all of Tommy Fury's. And look, there's other fighters out there that do it that way too, till they get to a real fight. But those are guys that have been in real fights in the amateurs, and that have been, that have something going for them in that world before they take their first fights where they're careful and where they pick the right guys. That happens in boxing all the time. He ain't the first guy to do it. So I'm going to put that out there too. But that's the fact. They're 24, 176 and 5, the records of his combined 8 opponents, and 4 of them had no wins, had 0 wins. And again, there's been other fighters out there but then they eventually fight real fighters. And they've been in there with real fighters before that with the amateurs. I said it already. I laugh. Jake Paul, is doing his thing. He's a promoter. He's a promoter's dream. He knows how to do it. And he said, hey, when they were face to face, Ken, he says to Tommy Fury, you fought nothing but cab drivers, taxi drivers. I would add something to that. They're very bad taxi drivers. They don't even have a license. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they're not tough taxi drivers. There's some tough taxi drivers. See, Greg Haugen, years ago, a real fighter, world champion, he beat Vinny Pazienza. A real fighter, a world champ. Greg Haugen was getting ready to fight the great Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. Great fighter, one of the greatest Mexican fighters, one of the greatest junior lightweights of all time. Period. He was getting ready to fight him. And Chavez had, 100 fights or 80 fights, whatever the heck it was at that point. Whatever it was a lot. And his early fights were in Mexico, where a lot of people didn't know who he was fighting. So Haugen, being a smart guy, a witty guy, trying to promote the fight, said, yeah, you fought nothing but cab drivers. You fought nothing. He said the same thing. You fought nothing but cab drivers. And then, of course, Chavez took him apart. And Chavez stopped him. But to Haugen's credit, to his credit, he got beat up. He took his beating. And then at the press conference, the post-fight press conference, he didn't disappear. He didn't hide. You know what he said, Ken? When one of the writers, you know how writers are. They went up to him and they said, "Hey, what do you have to say now about, you know, Chavez fought a bunch of cab drivers?" He said, "I stick to it. The only difference, they were tough cab drivers." They were tough cab drivers. So that's the difference here for me. Fury hasn't fought tough cab drivers. He has not fought tough cab drivers. Now, watching what I had to do to get ready to break this down, watching the tape and everything else to do my job the right way, Fury knows how to fight. He knows how to look like a fighter. I don't know if he, again, I'll say it again, I don't know if he knows how to fight like a fighter when the moment comes, if that moment comes. But he knows how to look. He reminds me of a guy you would hire for a TV movie to look like a fighter. Yeah, he's good looking. He's got a great build on him. Everything else, I wonder, you know, whatever. I wonder if they're going to do testing. Seriously, I'm not accusing anyone of anything. I just wonder. I wonder if they're going to do testing.
I can tell you right now, the chances are slim to none. They might do the typical BS of like, oh, we're going to test you 6 or 8 weeks out. But again, like we've talked about, those are intelligence tests at that point. You need 365, 24/7 to establish some baselines to test against, certainly for, you know, some of the performance enhancers that increase endurance.
Probably. But listen, Fury, I don't know. I'm not accusing him of anything, either one. I'm not. I'm just saying. I just threw that out there. Now, Fury looks the part. He's got a great body on him. He's a handsome kid.
The one thing, Teddy, the one thing,
and he knows how to throw punches. He knows how to look like a fighter. Let me just finish my thought. And then you jump in. He knows how to look the part, and with the guys that he's fought, you know, he knows how to, you know, move around, put the punches together, whatever. He's not a puncher. He's not physical. As much as he's got a good build on, he's not physical. He's not physically strong. He's not a banger at all. And I mean, if he was, he would have knocked out all these guys, to be honest with you. I mean, with the guys that I just talked about, with given their records. So that kind of speaks to itself right there. He's not that guy. He is a guy, again, not trying to knock him, but he's a guy that if I was doing a movie, I'd hire him to look like a fighter in a movie. But this ain't a movie. Now, I said it early. Jake Paul, he's not going to become, one of the great fighters that in the sport of boxing. But he's gradually becoming better and better. And one thing that he's serious about it, but he's one other thing. He's physically strong. He's a pretty good right-hand puncher, and he's physically strong. Fury's not physically strong. Aha. I think that's why he picked him. He's not stupid. Mm-hmm. I think he thinks he can use his physicality, and I think he thinks he's mentally tougher. I think he thinks, and he might be right.
I think he's right in that department.
I might agree with him. Right now with the little bit that I have to work on of evidence, body of evidence I have to work on, I would say maybe he is. That he's more determined. He's a little tougher mentally. He's been tested enough, Jake Paul, to show me that he does have mental toughness. I haven't gotten a chance to see it with the other guy. Maybe he does. I haven't seen it yet. Yeah. So I'm going to go with what I've seen, with what I know so far. And in that way, I'm going to go with Jake Paul, a little tougher mentally, definitely stronger physically. He's going to make it a fight. He should try to get a small ring, which I'm sure he will. And he will try to make it a fight where he can impose his physical advantage, his physicality, onto Fury, and get it to become the kind of fight where his mental toughness can show itself, can show through, and can really make a difference in the fight, and steer the fight in his direction. Yep. So I don't care what people say. I'm gonna pick Jake Paul. I know people are dying to hear this. I know you're out there. You've been dying to hear who does Teddy Atlas think is going to win between Jake Paul and Tommy Fury.
Fight of the century.
The fight of the century, or so, around there. And I think that Paul will beat him. I think he will stop him late in the fight and use a hard jab. Press the fight with a hard jab, go to the body, be able to deal with the quickness, the swiftness, the sophistication of Fury early on, where Fury can put punches together, can move around, but will eventually close the gap on him. He's going to have to learn how to cut the ring down. I'm sure they're going to work on that. Cut the ring down, make it a phone booth, and again, get to Fury in the areas where he has an advantage over Fury, mentally and physically stronger, and be able to, once again, prove some of the critics wrong that say that he can't do it. And again, I don't know if he does wind up beating Fury, what he really beat. Other than he beat a guy that did have more boxing time in boxing than he did, and more of a boxing background than he did. How's that, Ken?
That's as thorough as you like. Couple things. First of all, I'm sure with regards to the ring size, Jake Paul's going to have every advantage. He's the A side. He's the money guy in this fight. No question about that. Tommy Fury, in his last fight against one of his last fights against Anthony Taylor in Cleveland, I thought his gas tank was very suspect. I think the moment might have gotten to him a little. Who knows? But Jake Paul now has made the walk 6 times. I think that go walking to fight Tyron Woodley is more intimidating than getting in there with Tommy Fury. The only thing I say, I'll agree with you on the with the record. Yeah, the guys he's fought to date have all been like this. But I would argue, with very few exceptions, Vasily Lomachenko being one of them, and even Tim Bradley acknowledged this on the ESPN broadcast, 90% of these guys are fighting these pros as they're coming up, with very few exceptions.
I said that, Ken. I said that already.
I know.
I said that. I made sure I said it before I went down that road. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Boxing is full of these of this fluff on records, of this cannon fodder on records, full of them.
And that's what I was going to just agree with you.
But they eventually fight real fighters, and they come from a real place where, even though they're fighting these kind of set up fights, they're coming from a place where most of these guys that we're talking about that become top fighters, they had 200 amateur fights against top competition in the world, in the Olympics and international competition, where they fought real fights, where real fighters, where they have steeled themselves, forged themselves into a real fighter. And now, because they're being managed the way they're being managed by the promoters with the money and with the power, they're being given, soft diet of guys, like a liquid diet of guys early on, so they become 10-0 with 10 knockouts. That's what 8-0 with 8 now.
That's what I was going to get to. Is the record's one thing, the pro record is kind of par for the course, but more importantly is, like you said, those guys also, a lot of them had massive amateur records, and I just don't know what Tommy's record is, but I know at light heavy, when you're on a soft diet and you're 8-0 with only 4 stoppages, not the best look for a light heavyweight. Certainly not.
Especially not only 4 stoppages, only 4 with the resume that I just with the guys, the menu.
Teddy, one of the guys he knocked out was 0-11. Another guy.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
The guys that he stopped, 0-9, 0-11. Anyone who had more than a friggin' one win, he couldn't stop him. I think.
Well, I said 4 of his fights were against guys with no wins.
Yeah.
So
no, you're right. I guess I'm just reiterating what you say, but I think, like, when we look at it this closely under a magnifying glass, I think Jake Paul's going to kill him. And I think it's also funny that Tyson and John Fury.
It'll be interesting.
Tyson and John Fury told him, if he loses, don't come home from Saudi Arabia.
That was funny. That was good. That was good. But that's Fury. That's the great promoter there. I mean, he's the real fighter. He's one of the heavyweight champs of the world, Tyson Fury. But he's a great promoter, and he said the right thing. That was great. That was funny, and maybe that'll be incentive for his brother, because like you said, he said, "Hey, if you lose, stay in the desert. stay there in Saudi Arabia." Start pumping oil. You know what I mean?
He's also over there, buddy with Jake Paul, promoting it almost like, it's almost like when the cameras are on, they're like, we're going to kill you, Jake. And then the minute the cameras are off, he's like doing podcasts with Jake Paul and like buddy with them, going out for drinks. But I like Tyson Fury. He knows how to play the game. It's almost like he's like a great politician. He'll say
what did they say? What's Hyman Roth saying, The Godfather? It's not personal. It's business.
That's it.
It's all business.
That's it.
It's all business, my friend. It's all business.
That's it. Well, all business. Well, we got the Black Beast back in action next weekend. Derek Lewis. I think last week I might have said it was this week, but it's next week.
He's fun.
So,
he's fun. He's got dynamite in his fist. He doesn't know how to fight too good, but man, he knows how to bring it. He knows how to behave like a fighter, and he knows how to swing from the bleachers, and he knows if he connects that you're going to sleep. But he comes up short, obviously in the technical areas, but he makes up for it. He makes up for it with power and just with the excitement that he brings every time he gets in the cage, where people are anticipating knockouts. People want to see that. It's like going to the baseball park where you might appreciate good pitching, but you're really there to see a home run.
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, and that's when you're going to watch Lewis. That's what you're going to see. You're going to see something go over the fence.
Exactly. Well, Teddy, that was a pretty thorough breakdown for a slow weekend. It was good to touch on a little bit of everything. We got the football, the boxing, we got the preview. UFC was off this weekend, so we got a little break there. So Derek Lewis next weekend, couple small fights on next weekend. Amanda Serrano in action. Always love watching Amanda Serrano. She's all excited.
Oh, she's a good puncher. She knows how to fight. Yeah, she knows how to fight.
Yep.
She's very physically strong. She's got a style that's pleasing to fans.
Yes.
That's fan friendly.
Yep. She's
coming forward. She's a good puncher. What's there not to like about wanting to watch her?
Yeah, I 100% agree. But that was fun. Teddy, thank you for doing this. Appreciate you as always. To the fans, thanks for being with us. Please subscribe to the show. Get some athletic greens. Continue to be nice to each other. And you got anything else, Teddy, before we say goodbye?
No, just goodbye. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everybody. Stay safe out there.
See you next week.